Okay, there was that alarm, I promise, and it just shuts everything off. I am not the most tech savvy, even though I do have a tech company. So don't ask. Okay. But um anyways, so I had basically taken from November until February off, and I still wasn't like disciplined enough at that point, and I thought I was giving myself permission to do all that, which was fine. But I remember working out, like, because before that I had started I was doing the walks, and my daughter had eventually started doing some of the walks with me, and that was a great experience for her and I. We would just go talk, we'd drive to a new neighborhood to just walk the neighborhood. Back then it was like in our masks, and you see anybody across the street, you won't even say hi or wave because, somehow we're going to spread a disease to one another. But we ended up walking, and I remember during one walk, my daughter was like, "You love music, Mom. Like, I think you'd really like this one girl, who does these YouTubes. They're like dance YouTubes." And I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, send it to me." And I was like, "Yeah, right. What is this going to be?" My daughter's a dancer, a cheerleader, she has all this lovely, lovely experience. And also, she had said before I had started to lose weight, and this was an important thing for me. I remember her saying to me, Mom, and it was in the sweetest possible way. She was just like, Mom, you probably would qualify to get like gastric bypass or the lap band, some kind of like surgical intervention with your weight. And I thought a lot about it, and I was not offended. Like, it wasn't like, because if there's something I am, then that's who I am. Like, I have no offense to it. I was a 300-pound woman. And if you call me out on being an obese 300-pound woman, I take zero offense, because that is what I am. I mean, that is who I am portraying. May not feel like who I am in my heart, but now if you say something I'm not, that's when I take an offense. Like, oh, no, that is not me. So, if I'm being something or doing something and you call me that, then you know what? Yeah, I need to do some self-reflection if I don't like the way that feels as a result of what you and everybody else is observing, but perhaps is feeling a little bit too, you have to be so PC or whatever it is to say certain things or not. So this is my daughter, and it came from the sweetest place of love, even though like many people may be like, "Oh, she said what?" Like, no, but it was the damn truth. So how can I feel offended by this? I mean, I could tell you, but should I? No, it's the truth. When you look in the mirror, that's what you see too. So anyways, I thought about what she said, and I, for half a second was like, should I, would this, like, we all want that quick fix. We are all accustomed now to, a life at a faster pace. We have dishwashers, we have microwaves, we have internet, we have, everything comes so much faster than even just 20, 30, 40 years ago. So I thought about it, and I went back to her and I said, yeah, I probably could. I probably could go and get the approvals and go through the process of having this external option to help me get to the body I desire. However, for me, as your mom, as your friend, as a hopefully, I can't say if I am or not, but hopefully as a role model, I would want you to see, and your siblings, it's important for me to demonstrate that everything in life is not easy. There isn't a magic pill or a magic surgery or a quick fix to all of our problems. Sometimes we individually land ourselves in a place where we've created a problem. And I believe it's up to us to get ourselves out of it. And now that doesn't mean that the person who did opt for surgery is bad. No. You do what is best for you. But for me, I thought, I'll be damned if I'm not going to give this a real go myself, like 100% in. Not like I tried a diet for a week or I took 3 walks in a month. No, like I'm going to really try. And if I really try and it still isn't working and I'm still not able to achieve what I want to achieve or represent me as me, then yeah, I will pivot and adapt and change to those things. But I wanted my kids to see that a lot of the things that we really want in life, they take time, they take patience, they take a plan, they take determination. They take us just doing it. Just doing it. That's it. And it's little micro changes. It's acknowledging what's happening and making little micro changes along the way on a consistent basis. So anyways, I know I was saying something. So she had recommended this. But then, so that was back to my circle point. So I always have to give these little backstories, and I apologize. I know they're not concise. So anyways, she had recommended I try this lovely, lovely young lady who had these YouTubes, and I put her on, and bless this young girl's heart. She is young. First off, let's go start there. She is a 20-something-year-old girl on YouTube, beautiful skin, beautiful figure, lovely, lovely hair, looking like a Barbie doll up there. And I popped this sucker on my phone here, and I start watching this video, and I was like, okay, I'm feeling the music, but I was like, damn, I don't know if I can move like that. And hers was more like, kind of like functional training within the dance. You were doing some squats and lunges and things like that, moving your arms. So it wasn't just like dance in a way, but they were only 15-minute YouTubes. So I thought, it's 15 minutes, just give it a try. So I remember, asking like, is there a way to put YouTube on the TV? Like, I don't want to just sit here and hold my phone and try to do this. And they were like, yeah, here's how you do it. So we get it on the YouTube, see, I'm telling you, I'm not tech savvy. So we get the YouTube on the TV, and I start watching. And the first time I sat and watched it. I was like, okay. Like I'm kind of like one of those people that has to like, the more information I know, the more comfortable I am in a situation. And the more comfortable I am in a situation, the more I am able to kind of enjoy and embrace the situation. Although I work well on the fly, it's very anxious, anxiety provoking for me. So it's like, I need to be my own hype man. Like, okay, yeah, you could do that. And if you can't do that right here in the stage, you can just breathe. It's okay. If she's doing 45 squats and you got 4, the next 41, you're just gonna breathe. Okay. You could stand there and just whatever you got to do. So the next day I decide, okay, I got this. I can do it. Like, if she can do it, I can do it. And I remember like instructing everybody, like, do not come downstairs. Do not come downstairs. This is my time. It's 15 minutes. And no food, no water, no anything. And this was quite the controversy, actually, because everybody was like, well, how can you get that data? It was a very contentious point, and it was like suddenly everybody in that 15-minute span of the day who had never come downstairs or never wanted water or food is dehydrated and famished. They are going to die without food or water in that very given moment. So I just kept telling him, look, I need this time in private. I don't want anybody to see me moving. There are going to be things jiggling on your mom you do not want to see jiggle. I'm just going to tell you straight. And I just didn't have the confidence in myself to dance even in front of the people that love me the most, to even move. It was just, I was so filled with shame of this body that I could not fathom. Like it was like angered me just to even hear their voices, because I was just like trying to do this one thing for me. I didn't want them coming down the stairs, and now I had to shift this mom roll back on. It was just me and this lady on the TV. And so what started as like 15-minute little YouTube clips, I'll actually give her name. I don't know if we're allowed to do that, but I'll shout out. It was Mad Fit. And she is mad fit. Props to her. She also did like weight things and things like that. I was not in that. I just needed fun. For me, it was all about having a fun out, not a workout. I did not want to feel like I was working. So this was a great medium for me. I started doing those. And after I did those for a bit, again, like walking up the hill, it was like, I got 5 minutes in, I was, and then, but eventually I could get to 10 minutes, and eventually I got to 12, and eventually I finished the full 15 minutes. And then eventually after the 15 minutes, I was like, I kind of want more, and I want more, and I want more. And I would just crave this time to do this. And then after the 15 minutes, I then did more exploration thanks to YouTube's algorithms, and they would suggest things like stretching or yoga, and I was like, okay, or meditation, and I would dive into that, and I'd say, okay, I'm going to spend this time now stretching and really now nurturing my body as I just beat it up dancing. But I had a great time. I was listening to good music. I was moving. I was like, wow, I could do that. And I just had a really good time with it. And so eventually, I had seen my dad, and or I had talked to him, I believe it was on the phone. I don't know. One of those. Doesn't matter. I think I did see him. I don't see him very often, but we'll get to that at some point. But he was just so impressed. At this point, I had lost like 50 pounds, and he was like, wow, like, you're an inspiration. Like, this is so good for you, and da-da-da-da-da. And at that time, he had just started, his second wife had filed for divorce. He was like, I now have this opening on my membership at I'll just say it, Bay Club. And, would you like to join in on it? And I was like, yeah. But inside I was like, oh, hell no. I just got to the point where I am dancing in the living room. I can't even have my children or people come down. And I had kind of got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm stretching now. You guys can come down. Or, if somebody had to, quench their dehydration, they could come down, but really, like, please respect my time. And I think that's what it boiled down to. It was like, if you ask me for 15 minutes alone here or there, I respect that. Please give me that same respect back. And I think that was a sticking point for me, in addition to feeling very uncomfortable doing this new task and not wanting to receive any kind of judgment, feedback, anything at all about it. It was just me, and it was my thing. And so I remember thinking, oh, hell no, I do not want to go to a gym. I don't. But, I was still very much so like, yes, okay, Dad, yeah, whatever. Oh, absolutely, I'll do it. And he was like, he put in this one condition, which I'm so glad he did. He goes, well, if I put you on this membership, you better use it. Like, I don't want to waste my money. And you know me, I already told you, I don't like wasting money. Can be quite frugal at times, resourceful. So, I said, okay. And so I want to say that was like maybe the end of 2021. And it definitely was. And I thought to myself, okay, well, now I have this thing, and I had this additional pressure. Like, I can't let my dad down. I can't have him waste money, so I remember the same thing, like I was saying before, I don't feel very comfortable. So I called probably 10 different Bay Clubs, and I found out, like, okay, so if I go, like, what do I bring? And they were like, that just bring yourself. And I was like, no, like, if I bring my phone and my keys, like, where do I put them? Oh, well, a lot of ladies just bring it in their Lulu bag. I'm like, okay, do I have to put it in the locker room, or do people leave it in the room with them? And then do they bring like a duffel bag, like back in the 80s or 90s, back when, I went to a gym very short-livedly, it was like a duffel bag, and they were like, no, some people leave it there, some people take it to, like, it was very open-ended. And I was like, okay, I keep calling so that I had this, like, kind of comfort in this very, again, unfamiliar situation I was about to put myself into. And so I remember going into my first class, and I just was like almost nervously shaking. And it was like, I think it was called Simply Move. Yes, it was. And I giggled because I walked in, and I was probably the youngest person in there by 20 something years. I didn't know, but I had picked a class that was predominantly for women of a certain age. But it was great. It was Simply Move. I'm like, I could do that, right? Like it wasn't like Zumba. It wasn't, any of these boot camp or UJam, these highly intense things that I had dabbled in at home on myself, but I was not ready to like jump in and do on this stage in front of strangers, which I know. And now I'm like, if they have time to watch me while they are doing these moves, power to them, because I work really hard and I don't have time to watch you. Like, I'm just there with the instructor. It's like, this is our private dancing or something. But anyways, I remember going up to this lovely lady, and I was asking her, like, okay, so what do I do? Like, is this class hard? I was having like a severe anxiety about this. And she's like, no, you'll be fine. I've been doing it for 20 years, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, I got this. And I did the class. And I was like, power to these ladies. About, again, 5 minutes in, I was like, and I'm looking around. I'm like, some of these ladies are double my age. Double. I'm not exaggerating. And they are double my age. And they are moving better than what is going on? Like, I was like, YouTube workouts are nothing, like, compared to, I guess, an actual one. But what I loved was the energy these women, and sometimes men, I love the brave ones that come in, were bringing. Like, dancing in a community had an entirely different vibe from the feeling of dancing on my own, which, again, at this point, I now had been dancing or stuff so long, it was like I could regurgitate. I had the same routines down pat, and I'd try new people, but then there'd be a commercial, and it was just like, you could give 5% or you can give 100%. And I a lot of times thrive. I'm one of those people that I'm like, if I'm doing something, I'm going 110. I'm to the extremes. I'm either all in or all out. And so oftentimes I would just be there. So I thought, until I joined these group classes. And then I began exploring. Once I felt comfortable in that one, I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll try this one. And maybe I'll try this one. And so I would slowly try these other ones until I finally found my favorite instructor, who I love, Javier. He's the best. He just has moves that like just are magical. I think he came out of the womb dancing, from what I understand. I believe it. He just has this energy and this just gift of movement that is awe-inspiring. And I use him as like, he is a professional. He is a splendid dancer. And I'm like, if he's here every day without fail and doing other classes that I'm not a part of in other gyms, then the least I can do is come at my 110, like whatever that 110 is for that day. Sometimes the 110 at that day is some other days 30, but for that day, I'm giving it 110 because he is up there, rain or shine, like he's got, I'm sure, a life of his own beyond the dance floor and the class. And, I'm sure there's days that he's sad or mad or, tired or hurt. And he's still up there jiggling things that like are just solid on me, like, and not in a good way. like he is out there doing these just phenomenal. So I actually began his classes. He only does one where I locally live, and I don't commute for a job or anything, but I will commute 30 minutes usually each way to participate in his classes and be a part of his community, because he just brings something special out in me particularly. I just really resonates, and with all of his students. Like, there is not been one person I've spoke to that hasn't absolutely adored him. So Javier, love you. But anyways, so I found his classes, and again, I started in the back of the class, like out of breath, and I was like, holy cow. And I'm looking around, and again, I'm at the younger end of the spectrum of some of these ladies' ages, and, maybe in the middle, I don't know, somewhere. But I'm looking up and I'm like, this lady's keeping up, this gentleman's keeping up, and I'm over here, dying. And, for a little while, I'd be in my head like, oh no, he moved with the left foot and I moved with the right, or vice versa. And then I was like, listen, you are moving, you are winning. This isn't a reality show with a judge over there being like, oh, well, Natasha did the left foot, not the right. No, who gives a crap? Who gives a crap? I'm there dancing. I'm there moving. I'm there smiling. I'm there giving my best energy. I'm there being kind to people. That is all that matters. People are being kind to me. So yeah, I started at the back of the class and have slowly inched my way to where I feel most comfortable now, which is like in the middle, but towards the front, but not the front. Too much pressure up there. But I really just have found this thing. And if I find people outside of the classroom that are kind of looking at the class contemplating, I'm like, please come try. Like, it is so much fun. I love the music selection. I love the variety. And I just love the confidence that this class has brought out on me. Like, it can bring tears to my eyes to think of where I started doing the Mad Fit. Now, the class I predominantly do, ironically, is another M and a Fit, but it's called Mixed Fit. That's my absolute favorite. He also teaches this class called La Blast, which is like actual ballroom dancing. But I'm more of a, I don't count. I just am like how it feels. So sometimes I'm off on my moves and I'm spinning when you shouldn't be spinning. And it's a little more noticeable in the La Blast, where the Mixed Fit is just like, it's like a funky fun party. It's like the you know, like going to a club on a Friday night, but not really, you know, it's just this, it just is so much fun. And it also allows me like opportunities to show like I'm a strong person, like my power, you know, doing different kind of moves. So I just love the confidence it has brought out in me, and like the courage. Now, you know, I'll dance in front of a lot of people. I haven't ever gone up on the stage or anything like that, but I dance in front of enough people, and I've kind of overcame that kind of like fear of dancing, which my daughter, it's like, God, I can't even think about it, because I performed on so many stages in front of thousands of people. It just never occurred to me. And I'm like, well, good for you. Because it's like I'm like, oh, you know, I'm just my harshest critic. Like I say, it's like, oh, I did, you know, like if nobody's watching, then I don't care if I do my left foot. But it's like, if somebody's watching and I do it wrong, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm still a little hard on myself. Like I laugh. I mean, I laugh it off, but yeah. So anyways, yeah, so that's been my journey. I don't have any like special degrees or anything. I just have grown up on this school of hard knocks, and it has been the most beautiful lesson. It's been an amazing journey, and it was like the thing, like literally life is the absolute best school. Like, I have one kid who's doing college applications. We don't need to do a college application. We don't need to do a life application. Like, we were accepted the moment we were born. And it's really up to us. I think that a lot of us forget how much power we have, forget how strong we are, forget who we are. We are so programmed to go to school, do this, like follow this path that the world, society, whatever it is, you, your family, your friends believe you have to be on. But I do think there's so much value in getting off the road, in creating your own path, in spending the time with yourself to realize who you are, who you want to be, what struggles have you been through, and how amazing you are that despite whatever one of those challenges are, you're still here today. Like you made it. You weathered the storm. You came out on the other side. So my goal here is I really want to just share with you my stories. And I know I'm probably going to need to figure out a way to make them come in a more concise and planned out way, because I just love to chitty chat, as you can see. And I just hope that even just one of you, just somebody can say, oh, I kind of get that. Or like, that inspired me and I hate that. Like, but whatever it is, like it brings out some kind of change to know like you can really do anything you put your mind to. Where your focus goes, I swear the energy will flow. And it may not feel like it for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days. Like all that focus I put on my health look at me now. I don't know how much I weigh. I truly don't care. Unless I'm like jumping out of a plane or doing something that like, this is going to matter how much you weigh. And if that came, I would be like, listen, you need to weigh me and not tell me, because I just don't want this thing. So basically I'll tell you this one last story and then I'll let you go for the day. So the last time I had weighed myself, I had lost 115 pounds, and that's amazing. Like, I'm still like hella proud. Like I like always want to show people pictures of me, because many people didn't know that person. By the time I think I had joined the gym, you know, I was and started actively going to like Javier's classes, I want to say I had lost between 50 and 70 pounds. But I definitely was over 200 pounds when I was there. And I had got to the point where I lost 115. And I remembered like a couple weeks where it was just like maybe a pound would be lost or stayed the same. And I remember grappling with like, okay, this is the plateau. This is this part of the journey. And I became really addicted to the number, because I was having really good success. And it was like, you see it, don't, like keep going down. And it was like giving me like a dopamine rush. Like every time, like before I'd stand on the scale, I hated it. But now I'd stand on the scale and it was like, oh, I did this. Like it was this external force of gratification. And I said, no more. This is it. This is this point in the journey where we throw away the scale, because your level of weight loss is not sustainable. You don't have another 100 pounds to lose. And so is your day going to be defined by this number that has so many variables? Like, did you just eat? Did you just go to the bathroom? Did you drink a lot? Like, there's so many external factors that influence that number on the scale. That doesn't mean who I am. And so I haven't been back on a scale yet. I joke with people because at the gym, like some people will be like, you lost weight again. And I'll be like, I did. I don't know. You're my scale. You tell me. And then my interim from there to where I am now is I was like, okay, well then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start measuring. And I did loosely some measurements of my circumference, like of my stomach, my waist, my, chest, things like that. And so for a little while, I became fanatical about that. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, there, let me second. Oh, yeah. I lost another, smidgen, quarter of an inch or whatever it was. But again, I felt like I was starting to become dependent on that gratification instead of being like, I feel really good in my clothes. Like I saw myself when I walked by a building and I was like, damn, like you did that, and I started to feel again this like pressure to have this external validation from a tape measure or a scale. And I was like, you could do it in moderation. You can do it every once in a while if you so care, but knock that shit off too. Like you don't need to do that. Like it's not necessary. It's not a pivotal part of your journey. The goal was never to be a supermodel. Like I just wanted to be the healthiest version of me while I am enjoying my life. And I'm a foodie. I love food. I love sweets. Like sweets are amazing to me. I still love them every day. Like I will feel deprived if I didn't have them in some form. So yeah, like I was able to say goodbye to those things and use life as my scale, use other things, and then it not be what the number wasn't the thing. It's how do I feel? Do I have enough energy for my workouts? Do I feel fueled? Am I, hangry and bitching at people? Like those are my kind of scales, listening to my body. And so I don't know if I've lost another pound or 2 pounds or maybe even gained muscle or whatever. And I'm not really, really concerned with that at all. What I am most concerned with is just having this lifestyle, having these choices that my body can now sustain all of the magical, marvelous, incredible changes I'm choosing to make in my day-to-day life. All the like pain and suffering and trauma I'm going down to heal and learn from and sit with and empower me when I'm feeling weak. Like if I'm feeling weak and I don't want to do oh, that was the last thing. So I do have, this is an important thing. Prior to my weight loss, my average, my average steps were, so I had for a little while started doing 10K a day. And I'm going to say this was probably about 2018. And that was just the goal. It was just 20K a day, which oftentimes I hit, sometimes I didn't. But for the most part, I was trying to get the 10K. In 2018, was 2018? It could have been 2019. I think it was 2019. God, that's hard to believe. So I want to say 2018, but it could have been 2019. I'll fact check this. My auntie, who had also been one of those surrogate mothers to me, she ended up, she had a cough for a long time, and they kept thinking she had pneumonia, kept sending her to the doctor, sending her different antibiotics. Cough wouldn't go away. She kept having this other pain simultaneously. And they were saying, it's just stenosis, it's old age, it's, go to PT. So it turns out to be her doctor was on vacation and another doctor was on call for her. And she went in and she's like, I've been on 2 rounds of heavy antibiotics for pneumonia. I'm having this pain, blah, blah, blah. I can't get rid of this cough. It's now been months. And he said, I really don't like this. And so, excuse me. And so he refers her to urgent referral to pulmonology. Pulmonology does some x-rays. I don't really like what we're seeing here. They do a urgent referral for a biopsy. Comes back, stage 4 cancer, lung cancer. Did PET scans and all that. It had already spread significantly throughout her body. And thankfully, to modern medicine's credit, there was a pill that would help her alleviate some of her symptoms and help hopefully shrink some of the tumors, to give her a little bit more life. So you're praying for miracles, right? Like, this woman has given her life to self-care. Like, at this point in time, she was caring for my uncle who had congestive heart failure, had strokes. She was caring for her own mother who had a stroke. She was caring for their apartment building that was the income for her mother's very, very high level of skilled nursing facilities that needed to be due there. She was like managing, taking care of rentals. She had retired from her job that she loved to take care of my uncle. She would take care of everybody. She would, it was Thanksgiving time. She was giving people turkeys. At Christmas, she would have gifts for everybody, including the entire care homes. She said, no, nobody goes without a gift on my watch. She'd come in with her Mrs. Claus hat. She just did not understand or ever gave herself the opportunity to do any self-care at all. When she was young, she was told she wasn't going to live long. And so my uncle would tell me it was like she was trying to make sure that the life that she did live, it was so filled. It was so full. Like, you would get an email from her at 3 a.m. and then at 6 a.m. get another one and be like, okay, now I'm off to work or I'm off here. And she would just run and walk. She was a damn Energizer bunny. She never, ever stopped. It was like, ba, 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 coming, ba, da, 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 and always running, everywhere. And it was like there were so many things just flowing in her brain, and it drove my uncle absolutely crazy because he just was like, sit down, have lunch with me, enjoy the time with me. And I was like, I gotta go. And he's like, you don't even chew your food. You're just in a rush to leave. And even when she got sick, this is how I knew she was sick, is she never would stop. She never would just sit there. And I came in one day in the middle of the day and she was just sitting on the sofa, and I thought, there's something not right about this. I've been around this woman significant amount of time in my life, and I've never just seen her stop, not through a cold, flu, virus, anything. This is something a little more serious. So it did force her to stop, but she never once did any form of like self-care. Like, oh, I'm gonna, I was like, you have all these gift certificates for massages and things like that. Why don't you go get a massage? Or no, no, no. Like, just never, even when she was just not doing anything, she was still finding schools for people, sending out education, gardening. I mean, she just was giving, like, propagating. She was very much into like a community. She loved Native Americans. You know, everything for her was about being a part of a village and sharing. And, you know, she was like, you know, I would, she was very frugal, very, very frugal, but she would like, yeah, I'll tell you some funny stories about her, but, she would bargain and be like, okay, I have tomatoes. And she'd go over to her neighbors who had peppers and be like, I'm going to give you 10 of my tomatoes if I can have 2 of your peppers. And, you know, and then she would also like have already given them the peppers to like start the growing, but you know, she had only so much space. But she was quite the character. So anyways, back to my walking journey. So I was doing 10K a day. She ended up getting sick, and I became one of her main caregivers, and just support systems. I would take her to the chemo. I would take her to radiation. I'd bring her home. I would bring food. I would come over and help as best as I could clean. She, because she was so busy, ended up being kind of a hoarder, and you know, she was very particular about her stuff, so a lot of stuff she wouldn't even want touched or anything. But I would also then take care of Jerry, my uncle, and you know, cook for them, and all, go grocery shopping, all that kind of stuff. So throughout most of that time, like if she was in chemo, I would sit with her, but during radiation I could only go so far. So then like I would still like find creative ways to still get my steps in during my kids' soccer games. I'd maybe take walks at the practice instead of just sitting in my car, you know, like the, you know, the warm up before. I'd walk versus just sitting in my car on my phone scrolling whatever, Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whatever these things are. And so I got in a really good habit of that. And even through her cancer, and then when it got really bad, she then had a stroke because the tumors had went to the brain. She was in the hospital for a while. I'd still walk then because I would go every single day to see her, because I felt like there were times I was so exhausted and everybody's like, you need to not come today or anything. And I was like, I only have a finite amount of time with her. Like, what is more important to me today? Is it taking a nap, or is it, you know, getting time with her, even if she can't communicate with me, but just so she knows I'm there. I know she's looking in my eyes. I know she's feeling my hand holding hers. And I just don't want her to feel alone. Like, I am so appreciative of everything she taught me. I want her to understand how deep my love is for her, and that she can count on me, however that may be. So I was very exhausted, but I mean, walking to her hospital room, there was a lot. When she got discharged from the hospital, she ended up going into a skilled facility, like a rehab, to get her to be able to walk in order to go home. And that was the goal. And unfortunately, when she got there, they just had such poor care. Like, I am so sorry. I'm sure there's great ones out there, but I would rather be taken out to a field and shot than go live in one of those things. I highly encourage anybody. I don't know how it is now with COVID. Thankfully, this was pre-COVID, but I encourage anybody to spend a good amount of time. I'm talking maybe an hour, maybe 2. It's probably all you need to see. And this was a very beautiful place. This was a large facility. This was a very expensive place. It was in the heart of the Silicon Valley. There's no reason that we treat our elderly or like, it wasn't all elderly. It could be somebody who's needing rehab to learn how to rewalk again after a hospitalization or whatever. So poorly. I mean, I just don't have another word. I mean, they were great. There was activities. There would be music and, you know, hot cocoa day, and there was physical therapy. Like, on paper, it sounded beautiful. It sounded like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what one needs. And when you go there and you hear what happens, my aunt had a stroke and she needed to use the restroom, and she kept pushing that button that night, and she was confused, and she ends up trying to get out of the bed herself and falls and hits her head and is found on the floor unconscious. Like, this lady's been here for a few hours and now she's back in the hospital again. And then she goes back, and of course, I pitch a big bitch, and I'm like, this is unacceptable. So much so that they were like, we've never had anybody successfully get this. I had her, she was in a double room, but without a roommate. And she had a full-time, kind of like a watcher, they called it, but she could also help with like small tasks, with her cleaning and things like that, or, food and stuff like that. One-on-one, attention. And 24 hours around the clock, that was paid for. Not by me. But I got that for her. And like the staff there was like, you're pretty amazing to have been able to achieve this. Like, we've never seen this. And let me tell you, every patient in there probably deserved that. Every patient in there probably needed it. And they just don't get it. I mean, you ring the bell, their little like call thing, hours will go by. I'm not exaggerating when I say hours will go by. There were times that my auntie was given other people's medication. We were actually sent home with somebody else's medication. It is just an absolute, I mean, there were so many other instances, I wrote them down, that I was just like, this is cruel and unusual behavior, like treatment. And it's not that anybody in there doesn't have a good heart. I mean, these are people that went into this field because they wanted to be nurses. They wanted to care for people. Maybe they went in for the money. I don't know. Maybe there are those outliers, but you don't typically go into that kind of line of service because you don't want to take care of people. It's quite the opposite. It is a messy, 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 sad, just horrible place. Even on its best of days, like even with beautiful flower gardens you can walk through, and musicians coming and bubbles, and they did all kinds of stuff. It's cruel. So anyways, I managed to stay with my 10K like that. Auntie had come in and lived with me starting in September of 2019 on hospice. That was a very difficult decision. That was what she wanted. Their house had, because of the hoarding, had experienced some infestation of rodents and bugs, and it just was not habitable. Like, first off, no nurse or hospice person would even enter that home under those conditions. And so, we had to go to, of course she wanted to probably go home, but she just at that point had wanted to be around people, and she wanted, beyond, of course, her husband as well. But like, she knew I was consistently showing up. She knew how much I was giving care. She knew how much I was fighting for her, and that I wouldn't stop ever. And so Auntie moved in on September on hospice, and my uncle moved in as well. So it was quite the experience. Again, still small house. By now, Bradley had moved, or not moved. At this point, Brad was still in college. So he wasn't here, except for on a visit for that experience. But I did pretty good through even that, because I'm telling you, caring for somebody on hospice and changing adult diapers is very different than changing your child's diaper. You kind of think in your head like, oh, it's all the same. I've done this before. An adult body weighs a lot more than a child body. Like, an adult's will is a lot more strong than a child's will. It is back-breaking, heartbreaking to see your loved one deteriorate in that fashion. But there is so much beauty in like some parts of it. Just the listening to music together, the sharing meals together, the tranquility. Like, I have a fountain, and we have these beautiful floral vines that were coming down with these magnificent purple flowers that would attract hummingbirds. And there was some real just peace and cleansing and just learning new things that from it wasn't called a pastor. There was a woman that came in. She was really interesting. Anyways, just learning new ideas and concepts of ways of healing that went beyond our Western medicine. And we practiced a lot of that with her. And it was just like, you could feel the energy shift in the room. But anyways, I won't get all cuckoo over there. Back to my thing. So throughout that, I was pretty much most days, able to do the 10K steps a day. And it would be like by nature, because I'm running around, cleaning beds, making food, caregiving. I was absolutely exhausted personally, caring for her, as well as my uncle, as well as my 3.5 kids, because one was in college and he would still constantly call for things. And I'd be bringing him up food and things like that. So it was very like groceries or sending groceries. So it was still kind of involved, but he was kind of on his own. But after she had passed, I think I kept with it maybe a day or two, maybe a week. But the grief had came, and it was like this sudden, like you were caring for this person and she was gone, and you care about this person so much. And it was just like, it had became so all encompassing, this caring for my aunt. It had become my number one priority, and it was gone. And she was gone, and there was so much left to be done that she had left to be done. There was so much pain. There was so much having to look strong to my kids, but then also tell them it's okay to break down. It's okay to be sad. I'm here for you. And it was like they say, like it comes in stages and it comes in waves. And some days were more difficult than others. And some days it felt like she was there with me. And others, it was like just so empty without her. And yeah, it just was a very sad time. So I had stopped then. She passed in October of 2019. I would say definitely by November I had stopped, and then hadn't restarted all the way until, mid 2020, trying to do anything. So my last thing I wanted to say in regards to my personal weight loss journey was, during that time from her passing until I restarted 2020, I was averaging, drum roll please, approximately 1,000 steps a day. And I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, what was I not doing? I mean, I cooked, I would go to the grocery store, I picked up the kids, but a lot of that stuff, it was like, I'd walk from my door to the car and sit in the car, and then walk from sitting in the car into sitting back in the house. And then, okay, now I'm sitting in the car, and now I'm sitting on a soccer field. So it was just a very sedentary lifestyle I was living. And, yeah, so basically it was, again, those small micro changes. So it was like, okay, 1,000 steps. Okay, we're going to go up to 2,000. 2,000, we're going to go up to 3,000. I think we could do 5. And so just setting those goals, setting those new habits that I wanted to become non-negotiable was imperative. But also knowing and realizing that there is some psychology behind it. There is some transition period that needs to occur. And in that process, I need to enjoy the process as well. I can't make it arduous. I can't make it where I kick my ass and I'm doing 45 minutes of workout and doing all these things that the next day I hurt so much I don't have the ability to even get up and work out, or I don't even get up them and go sit on the toilet because I'm in so much pain. Like that's not sustainable. I'm okay. I have a high pain tolerance, but I'm not actively trying to torture myself either. So I think finding that balance. And for me, it is just working slow goals over time. And I can look back and say, hey, here's one of those few pictures of me where I don't have kids strategically placed in front of me because I don't want somebody to see what they already saw. I think the point was I didn't really want to see it. And I am now like, dang, I wish I took more pictures, or dang, I wish I had saved some of my fat pants and did those, you know, things where I can stand in it on one side and and here's the other side of me. And there are a couple things that make me giggle when I put on. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that definitely doesn't fit you. Definitely have lost some weight. But most of the stuff I've donated and given away because, you know, I just was like, I don't desire to be that size. And if I leave you hanging around, well, again, I'm a cheapo. So if you're, I don't want to go out and buy new clothes. So if I'm going to go get rid of this stuff, which by the way, most of it wasn't even cute, because it's like when you're that big, there's not that much stuff that is cute. It's like, oh, this fits. Oh, this kind of conceals one or two of my roles. Like it's not because like you're like, ooh, I love this thing. It's just such a different experience. But yeah, so just getting rid of all those things. So anyways, my other daily thing is I do have a daily step goal. Again, this has been a journey for me. So it had got to 10K for a long time, but then I just kept going and it got to 12K because I was naturally doing things. So then I would adjust and I'd be like, oh, well, I'm already almost there. So I'm at 11,500 steps. Why not do 500 more and get 12,000 steps? I've worked my way up to 15 and then 20,000 and then 25K. And I think there was a short period that was 30K. 25K was a little bit more. And then I also started to realize, look, I only have a finite amount of time. Do I want to spend 2 hours a day running or walking or dancing? Is there other things that are needing my attention? And so I've had to ebb and flow and pivot and kind of shift that to where I feel comfortable. You know, my most recent goal set was 15K, and then my son was injured. And so I was doing my natural life, that like I do a lot of my writing when I'm running at home. And so I would naturally, between the running and then my dance class, I would get a lot, and then my son would say, hey, can we go for a walk? And there's another 5K. So it was like, I ended up like, my goal for the last year was supposed to be 15K. It ended up kind of inching back up to 20, and there were a few times that it's been 25 or 30. But honestly, the 15 to 20 range is, for me personally, where I'm able to say, I don't feel like I'm sacrificing a lot of my other life because I'm finding fulfillment and joy and work. Like I say, when I do my running at home, which is more like a jog, they call it a fake run. They say it's not anything, and I don't care because I know for me, it is doing something. So haters gonna hate, but I just love. Power out to Sophie, my son's girlfriend, who is so courageous to have actually not laughed at me while I'm participating, and has, even on a few occasions, experienced it herself. So good on her for not just hating and being like, I'm like, try it first and then hate. Like, if you think this is nothing, then you do this with me and then you tell me that this is not doing anything. But I understand that it is very different than probably taking a run outside. But okay, I digress. So anyways, we can commiserate over that on another day. But yeah, so all I say is, this is a secret to my stuff. Very small micro changes. And I think the first thing is actually just realizing, you know, just like what is the AA mantras or whatever. It's like, number one, you have to realize there's a problem. And I think that comes at time, and being overweight isn't always a problem. It's, you know, there are some sumo wrestlers out there that are more healthy than skinny people. So it's not what the appearance is. It's just, are you healthy inside? Like, are you having a healthy life? Realizing that this is maybe not the life that you want to be living. And if you do want to live it, great, live it. Your life, your choice, no judgment. But if you do want to make changes, you have to first realize that, and then be like, okay, what am I going to do? And you do one micro change at a time. You're not starting intermittent fasting, starting a 45-minute a day exercise regimen, withholding calories, doing 10 steps a day. Like, you can't, this is not sustainable to like just change it once. But over time, the process becomes an evolution. And naturally, at least a person like me just wants more. It's like we want to test the next boundary, and not so much so that it hurts us or kills us. It's like we learn, like, oh wait, I can do more. Like, I'm doing what I thought 5 months ago was my max, and now that's kind of like my mid. And it's just very empowering to use this experience as a metaphor for any and everything in life. We can achieve it if we put in the energy, if we put in the focus, we put in the time, we have the desire to sit through and know that it's going to be a painful journey. There are days that you're going to work out and it's going to really hurt. There are days that you're going to work out and you're going to see no progress. But over time, you keep making these small adjustments, these small, start with a window. Like, I didn't start with my window huge. It was like, okay, I'm going to start, I can't eat for 2 hours. Okay, I'm sleeping for 2 hours. That counts, right? 4 hours. I'm also still sleeping for 4 hours. Like, I don't eat when I'm sleeping. That counts, right? Right? 6 hours. Okay, so you just slowly get there. You don't have to do this all in this way. Go slow. And so you can do it. Like, whatever the change is. If it's not weight for you, if it's communicating better, if it's career aspirations, if it's, working on your inner child, whatever it is, every day taking tiny, tiny steps is the secret of getting there. So I will bid you adieu now, and I hope you've enjoyed, and do all that other likes and thumbs up and subscribe and whatever whatnots, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.